it is better that we should study the new words and their meanings before studying any poem or any prose. Now we are studying the poem The Quality of Mercy. In that poem also certain new words are there. We may not know the meaning of those new words. So let's have a look at those words and their meanings. Quality of mercy, new words, glossary words. Here is the list of all the almost all the new words that have appeared in the poem The Quality of Mercy. And here from 1 to 13 you can see the glossary words, and then some extra words are also there. Those 3 words I have selected and I have mentioned here. And if you don't know even more words, then you should refer a good dictionary and you should study those words. Here I have written the contextual meaning. Whatever poem gives meaning, that meaning these words express. In different situations, words give different meaning. For example, if you take the word hit, hit means it is beating or hitting something like that. If you use it in the situation of cricket game, the batsman hit the ball to the boundary, we say like that. If you use it in the situation of cinema, Bahubali was the big hit, we say like that. So here hit is used differently in different situations. In the same manner, these all words are used in the poem to give that contextual meaning. So let's have a look at these words, and at the same time let's use them in our own sentences also. We may better understand those words. Strained, forced, compelled, balavantada, vattayada. The mercy is not strained, or the quality of mercy is not strained. Droppeth, drops, beelu. The mercy drops from the heaven, like that. Blessed, blessed, ashirvadisalpatta. When I met my teacher, I felt blessed. Scepter, a decorated rod carried by a king or a queen as a symbol of power. Rajadanda. King always carries scepter while delivering justice. Temporal, worldly power. Tatkalika. Human beings on this earth are temporary. Majesty, royal power, Sarvabhaumate. Devadatta requested His Majesty, the king, to get back his swan from Siddhartha. Doth, does, this is helping verb. What does he eat? Where does he go? We use like that. Dread, threat, bhiti, bhaya. After the incident of earthquake, the inmates of that house explained their dreadful experience. Enthroned, seated, simhasana verida. When the mercy is enthroned in the heart of the king also becomes God. Attribute, quality, character, lakshana. The mercy is the attribute of God. Likest gods, like that of gods. When the king uses mercy in his justice, he is like that of God. Seasons, tempers, sanskarisu, hadagolisu. When mercy seasons justice, the king becomes God. Ennobles, make something noble, unnatigerisu. The good books ennoble man. Extra words. Heaven, the abode of God. Sky. Swarga. Every human being thinks that he should go to heaven. Mighty, having great strength. Bhalishta. The tiger is a mighty animal. Monarch, head of state. Raja, Samrata. The monarch should have mercy in his heart whenever he is giving justice. So these are the words and meanings of the poem, The Quality of Mercy. Now let's study the actual poem. So far, we studied the new words and their meanings of the poem Quality of Mercy. Now let's study the poem Quality of Mercy. But before studying this poem, there is a background for this poem. This poem, The Quality of Mercy, is taken from one of the most famous plays of English literature, The Merchant of Venice. And this play is written by William Shakespeare. He is one of the greatest all-time playwrights of English literature. This poem is the utterance of Portia. And what is the background for Portia to utter this poem, to say this poem? There is a small background story for that, and let's have a look at that small background story. And in that story we have these four main characters, Shylock, Antonio, Bassanio and Portia. Let's start from Shylock. Shylock, as you see the word Shylock, Shy means shame, then lock means bound or tied. Shylock means shamelessness. He is a shameless person. He is a notorious person. Hates Antonio. This person Shylock, he is the hater of Antonio. Shylock was the money lender of the city Venice, and he lends money to the people, and he extracts high rate of interest from them. In true sense, he harasses the people, and that is why he is very notorious person. And Antonio, he is also rich person. He lends money to the people, but he doesn't get interest, or he gets very less interest. That is why he is very famous person, Antonio. He is notorious and he is famous. Because he is famous, Shylock wants to take revenge on him. He hates him. Bassanio, we may call him as spendthrift. He is a luxurious life living person, and he spends a lot of money. That is why he is always in need of money. Portia, we may call her as a heroine of this play, and she is very wise, intelligent girl, and she has not got married yet. Portia's father wants to marry her off to an eligible bachelor. Bassanio hears this news and he wants to marry Portia. In order to marry Portia, Bassanio has to impress her. So in order to impress her, he has to show himself as a rich person. As he has spent money, he has no money. He came up to Antonio, his friend, to ask for some money. For his ill luck, Antonio had no money. So Antonio went up to Shylock to borrow some money to give to his friend. Shylock was waiting for this opportunity, and now he wants to take revenge on Antonio. Shylock agrees to give money to Antonio, but he puts a condition. What's that condition? I will give you money, but you have to give that money back on a certain stipulated date. If you fail to pay back that money, I will take 1 pound of flesh from your body, any part of the body. 1 pound means it is about 453 grams. Antonio agrees because he wants to help his friend Bassanio, and moreover Antonio was expecting his ships with full of merchant goods within that stipulated period, and he thought that I may pay back this money within the given date. So he took money from Shylock and gave to Bassanio. Bassanio took that money and went up to Portia and impressed her and got married to Portia. That's over. But Antonio's ships coming to Venice, they were lost in the sea, and the stipulated time of paying back that money to Shylock, that stipulated time was over. Now Shylock has the better chance. He wants to take actual revenge on Antonio, and he drags Antonio to court. He obstinately argues that I want 1 pound of flesh from Antonio's body, nothing else. The case was running. Here Bassanio had got married to Portia and they were living very happily. This news was heard by Bassanio and Portia. Bassanio immediately come to Venice, and he says to Shylock, I will give double the money that Antonio owes you, so please leave him. Shylock didn't agree with him. I want 1 pound of flesh, that's it, he said. He doesn't expect any money. Then meanwhile Portia, in the disguise of a lawyer, she comes to court, and here Portia, she offers Shylock 3 times more the money he had given to Antonio, but Shylock didn't agree. I want 1 pound of flesh. He was very obstinate in his demand. Then Portia tells him the quality of mercy. So here the poem comes out from her mouth. So what's that poem? How she explains to Shylock the quality of mercy? Let's study the poem. And this story has a happy ending. Let's see what's that happy ending after the completion of this poem. The poetry has its own beauty. It carries the valuable feelings of the poet. We should not study the poetry, we should not look at the poetry as mere words. We should not look at the poetry in the sense that we should write this poetry in the examination and we will get the marks. That should not be the attitude with which we should study the poetry. Poetry has its own importance, carries the feelings of the poet. So we should enjoy the poetry. We should have some aesthetic sense to study the poetry. So these poems are also very beautiful and very valuable and value-based poems. We should study the poetry in the true sense. Now I read this poem once. You should listen this poem simply with a relaxing mood. Once you do like that, afterwards you replay the video. Whatever reading part is there na, you replay that. Again you listen to that poem by looking into your book. So that if you listen to this poem being recited, you will get an idea of what this poem is about, and at the same time you will know the pronunciation of the words. Let me read the poem and you listen and enjoy. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes its mightiest in the mightiest, it becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the heart of kings. It is an attribute to God Himself. And earthly power doth then show likest gods, when mercy seasons justice. When mercy seasons justice. I have made a small attempt to read this poem in its true sense. You may listen this poem's recitation using the internet also. Now let's have a look at this poem line by line, and let's try to understand the poem. Here this poem comes out in the court, and here Shylock is standing in the witness box, and Portia is telling him the importance of the mercy. And let's have a look at the poem. The quality of mercy is not strained, means it is not forced, it is natural. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven. Here the heaven means sky, or we may interpret heaven as the abode of God. It droppeth as the gentle rain. It drops from the sky to the earth. It upon the place beneath, means on the earth the gentle rain falls. It is twice blessed. Here she explains that the mercy blesses two persons. Who are those two persons? Let's see here. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. If I am showing mercy to a person, then I am blessed. Why? Means I become famous among the people talk good about me, and I am blessed in that way. And the taker, whoever we give mercy, that taker also is blessed. If I am the taker of the mercy, I am blessed because I am out of the danger of the punishment. If I have done something wrong by mistake, if someone understands that and he shows mercy on me, I am out of danger of the punishment, and I feel happy and I am blessed. And here I would like to give you an instance about Gandhiji's words, and he says that non-violence is very powerful, because non-violence can be practiced only by the powerful people. It is not the weapon of the cowards, because to restrain ourselves from doing harm, that also needs strength. So that is also one of the most powerful acts we can do. And it is mightiest in the mightiest. The mercy is very powerful, and it is most powerful among the powerful, says as. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. Whatever crown, whatever scepter, whatever ornaments, with all that, the king sits on his throne. But whatever power the king has, mercy is more powerful than that. His scepter shows the force of temporal power. When the king is giving justice, he holds a scepter that represents the justice. With the help of that scepter, he gives justice to the people. But that scepter shows the temporary power. It is temporal, it is not permanent. The attribute to awe and majesty. See here, the scepter, it is one of the powerful things that a king carries, that scepter is majestic and it is awful, wherein does sit the dread and fear of kings. The scepter that the king has in his hands, in that scepter lies dread and fear, because he uses that scepter to give justice. So in that scepter there is fear, there is awe, there is dread. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. Here Portia tells to Shylock, see, it is more powerful than the scepter of the king. My dear students, here I would like to ask a few questions to you. Try to answer. What is the mercy compared to? How can you say that mercy is twice blessed? And what is the thing that a monarch holds in his hand when he is giving justice? If you want to give answer, pause this video and give answer and continue. It is enthroned in the heart of kings. Where is mercy sitting? Mercy is sitting in the throne of heart of the kings. In the heart there is throne, and in that throne mercy is sitting. It is an attribute to God himself. Even God has mercy. With him there is mercy. It is God's characteristic. And earthly power doth then show likest gods. See here, mercy is the quality of God, and king's power is earthly power. It is temporal power, temporary power. This earthly power becomes the power of God. When this earthly power of king becomes power of God, when mercy seasons justice. Here seasons means not the changes in seasons we say in a rainy season, summer season, winter season, not like that. Here season means modifying, tempering. So when king's justice is seasoned by the mercy, then king also becomes God. That is, this is how this can be interpreted. So far you studied about the quality of mercy that was said by Portia to Shylock, and here you see that Portia compares mercy to the gentle rain that falls from the sky, and mercy blesses two people. It blesses the giver and also taker. The mercy is very powerful, and when the king uses mercy, he also become more and more powerful. With the help of the scepter, holding the scepter in his hand, the king gives justice, and in that scepter there is fear, there is awe, there is majesty, and there is dreadfulness. When the king uses that scepter and he gives justice to the people, but mercy is above that sceptered sway, and mercy is in the heart of the kings, and mercy is also the quality of God himself, the characteristic of God himself. When king uses mercy in his justice, that king's temporal power becomes God's power. King also becomes God when he uses mercy in his justice. So this is how Portia tries to convince Shylock so that he can stop killing of Antonio. So far we studied the poem. Now let's have a look at the question answers of this poem. Now let's study 2 marks question of this poem. I have selected 4 important 2 marks questions. Let's have a look at them. The speaker says that mercy is twice blessed. What does she mean by this? Here the speaker says the mercy blesses two people. Then what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of twice blessed? Mercy is twice blessed. It blesses both the giver and the taker. Mercy is called as twice blessed because what does it do? It blesses the giver as well as the taker. How it blesses both of them? By giving, the giver gets name, fame, satisfaction, etc. See here, if you show mercy to somebody, you will become famous and you will get a kind of satisfaction and you get name, fame, while the taker is free from the suffering. See here, if you don't show mercy to somebody, that person has to undergo the suffering. So that taker, he is free from the suffering that he has to undergo. That is the meaning of this twice blessed phrase. Scepter shows the force of temporal power, but what quality does mercy stand for? Here, whatever scepter the king has in his hand, that represents the temporary power. What about mercy? What quality does it represent? That is the meaning of this question. Let's look at the answer. Scepter represents temporary and earthly power. Whatever power is there on the earth, that temporary power scepter represents. But the quality of mercy represents the quality of God himself. Mercy is God's quality. Question number 3. How does the poet justify the power of mercy as the mightiest, comparing it to power of the scepter of the king? Here the poet makes comparison between the scepter and the quality of mercy, and he gives judgment that quality of mercy is the mightiest. How do you prove this? How do you say that the quality of mercy is the most powerful or the mightiest? Let's look at the answer for this question. The poet justifies the power of mercy as the mightiest because the scepter shows the force of temporal power of the kings, but the mercy is the quality of God himself, therefore it is the mightiest. Here the poet compares the scepter to the quality of mercy. What does scepter represent? The scepter represents the earthly power, the temporary power. But what about mercy? It is the quality of God. If you compare God's quality to the temporal quality of the kings, then it is not at all a comparison. King is nothing in front of God. So whatever God's quality is naturally the mightiest. So mercy is God's quality, that is why that is the mightiest compared to king's scepter. So 3 questions I have mentioned here. One more question is there. Let's study that question also. Now the question number 4. What is the meaning of the line mercy seasons justice? Here mercy seasons justice, at the end of the poem we see this line. Here the question is, what is the meaning of this line? When the king uses the divine power mercy while delivering the justice. See here, the king uses his scepter to deliver the justice, and he analyzes the justice and injustice, and finally he gives justice. While giving justice, if the king uses the divine quality mercy, his earthly power becomes the divine power. Whatever temporary power was there na, his power, that power becomes the power of God. Mercy modifies the king's judgment as divine judgment. Whatever earthly power was there that the king has, that earthly power becomes the divine power if mercy tempers, if mercy modifies his justice. That is what the meaning of this line. Now 3 marks questions, RC type of questions. One line from the poem is given here. Based on that line, 3 questions are asked. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven. Who is the speaker of this line? The speaker of this line is Portia. We may call her the heroine of our story. To whom is this line addressed to? Answer is to Shylock. He is the villain of the story. What is considered as gentle rain? The thing which is considered as gentle rain is mercy. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. This line is also from the same poem only. What kind of questions have been asked on this line? It's very interesting. See here. What is referred as it? Here in this line, the word it, what does it represent? Absolutely, this word it represents the quality of mercy. How does it blesses both the giver and the taker? And this question we have already discussed while practicing 2 marks questions. By giving, the giver gets name, fame, satisfaction, while the taker is free from the suffering. See here, if the person is showing mercy to someone, he as a result, naturally he becomes famous and he gets a kind of satisfaction. Oh, I saved this person. Oh, I showed some mercies to this person, thinking like that. And the person who has got the mercy, who is free from the suffering, otherwise he had to undergo the pain. What punishment does the giver gives? He has to undergo that punishment. So the taker is free from that. That is why both giver and the taker both are blessed here. Who said this? This is said by Portia. This kind of, if we study the poem completely, then it will be very easy for us to understand and answer this kind of questions. There is one more RC type of question. Let's study that also. The third question, and earthly power then shows likest gods. And this line, on this line 3 questions are there. What is the earthly power in this line? What we refer here as earthly power. So naturally king's power is the earthly power. What does this earthly, when does this earthly power becomes like God's power? So whatever earthly power the king has, when does this earthly power become God's power, like that of God? When the mercy modifies the judgment of kings. Whatever justice the king delivers, if he uses mercy in his judgment while delivering judgment, and at that time that earthly power becomes godly power, divine power. Who is the speaker of this line? Who said this like that? And then it is said by Portia, the heroine of this story. These are what some of the 2 marks question and some of the 3 marks questions we studied here. Now let's study the summary of this poem. Now let's have a look at the summary of this poem. Quality of Mercy summary. This poem is an extract from Shakespeare's play The Merchant of Venice. As we have discussed in during studying the poem, the background of this poem, the basis of this poem is Shakespearean's one of the famous dramas, that is The Merchant of Venice. These lines are spoken by Portia to Shylock, the villain. And here, Portia, we may call her the heroine of this story. And she is preaching the importance of the quality of mercy to the villain, Shylock. She preaches the importance of mercy to him. She says that mercy is never affected by anything. As she goes on describing the quality of mercy, she says the quality of mercy is not forced, it is not strained, it is very natural one. She says it comes down from the heaven or sky as gentle rain. how the rain falls to the earth, how rain brings happiness on the earth, how it changes the environment. Smooth rain, gentle rain, just like gentle rain, mercy should come out. It blesses both the giver and the taker. The giver gets the appreciation, name, and fame, while the taker's life is saved. He would be free from the suffering. And she explains to him how the mercy benefits both the giver and the taker. Here, the giver of the mercy gets name, fame, and appreciation, and also a kind of satisfaction. And at the same time, the taker who is free from the punishment, otherwise he would have to undergo that harsh punishment, and he is relieved, and mercy did good to him also. She further says mercy is more powerful than the king's crown. On the earth, the king is more powerful, and he is respected everywhere, and with his throne and with his crown, with all his ornament, he is considered as the most powerful person on this earth. But mercy is more powerful than him. The king uses his scepter, the earthly power, the temporary one, to deliver the judgments. The scepter that he holds in his hand while delivering the justice, and with that he delivers justice. He analyzes what is justice and what is injustice, and finally utters the judgment. And that scepter shows the earthly power, that is temporary power. The scepter is the symbol of honor, awe, and fear. That scepter, it creates a kind of awe, it kind of majesty, a kind of dread, fear, and everything. That's considered as the greatest one. But mercy is more powerful than this one. Whatever scepter is there, the mercy is more powerful than that. Mercy sits in the royal seat of king's heart. King sits on the throne, but mercy sits in the heart of the king, the throne. The heart, it is called as throne of mercy. It sits inside the king's heart, that can be called as seat of mercy. Mercy sits in the royal seat of king's heart. It is the characteristics of God himself. Mercy is not a common thing. The God's characteristic it is. When mercy modifies the king's judgment, the king's earthly power becomes the power of God. The king, the most powerful one, and when he uses that mercy while giving justice, the same justice becomes divine justice. The same judgment becomes divine judgment, because mercy modified that judgment. And that divine power, mercy, if the king uses that in his judgments, he will also become God. So that's how she explains the importance of mercy to Shylock. I had told you that this story is a happy ending, and how it ends happily I will tell it in the last part of the study of this poem. Now we are in the last part of the study of the poem. Now I will tell you how the story is a happy ending. Shylock is standing in the witness box, and Portia is preaching him the importance of mercy. Shylock is adamant, is stubborn, and is obstinate. He is not changing his mind, and he very stubbornly says that I want 1 pound of flesh from the body of Antonio. That's all. It is written in the will. He goes on arguing. Then Portia, she tries everything. She offered more money. She preached him the quality of mercy, everything, but he is not giving in. Now Portia reads that will again. Shylock, it is written in the will that if Antonio failed to return the money on time, you have the right to get 1 pound of flesh from the body of any part of the body of Antonio. Is it right? She asks him. Shylock says, yeah, definitely, I will get 1 pound of flesh from his body, he says. Then she reads the same lines again. Then she says to Shylock, Shylock, see here, if we have every right to take 1 pound of flesh from the body of Antonio, but you don't have any right to take even a single drop of blood, she says. Now Shylock has gone and he started asking for money. No, I don't want flesh, I want money only, please give me money. And the court heard this argument, and the court realized that how Shylock has conspired. Shylock's conspiracy is revealed here to take the life of Antonio. Now everything was settled down. Then Portia, she narrates her story of disguise and arguing in the court. Everybody appreciates the intelligence of Portia. This is how the story ends. And also Antonio's ships, they were lost in the sea. They also come back. Everything was fine, well and good. It was a happy ending. My dear students, so far we studied the summary of the poem, The Quality of Mercy. Now let's have a look at what kind of questions are asked on this poem. If we referred the previous two question papers, June 2021 and September 2021, we don't find any kind of questions in those question papers. Any kind of questions means 2 marks questions, 3 marks RC kind of questions, and 3 marks summary kind of question, and 4 marks summary kind of question. But we will definitely find a question of quote from memory. Means we have to write the 4 lines of the poems that are asked in these question papers. So memorization kind of question is asked there, but we should not neglect the study of all these kinds of questions, because just from the academic year 2019-20, the question paper pattern has changed. So we must prepare ourselves to face any kind of questions. Why I am going in detail about all these poems, you must be ready to answer any kind of questions in the future exams. And at the same time, I am introducing memorization song at the end of the study of these poems. The only reason for this is, if you have to remember anything, you must understand that completely. Now let's listen to the melodious song, The Quality of Mercy. My dear students, if you type The Quality of Mercy in the search bar in YouTube app and press enter, you will get more than 10 results regarding that search, and most of the results show you the song that I am going to play for you in this video. I would like to say a few words about the preparation of these songs. These songs, The Quality of Mercy, The Ballad of the Tempest, and The Blind Boy, these songs are prepared in Hanagal Taluk. In Hanagal Taluk, there is a creative English teachers team, and we have created a platform for ourselves in the name of English Teachers Forum Hanagal. We people keep doing this kind of creative things. Mainly, I would like to take 3 names here. First one is Mr. Rakesh Jigli. He is a state level RP, and He is an assistant English teacher in Janata Girls High School, Hanagal. And another important name is Mr. Santosh, who is an assistant English teacher of NCJC High School, Hanagal. And another most important name here I would like to take is Mr. Narsimha Komar sir. He himself is a musician, and at the same time he was the former president of our Hanagal Taluka English Teachers Forum. Now Mr. Chikkeri sir is the president of our Hanagal Taluka English Teachers Forum. These songs are sung by the students of Janata Girls High School. I will display the names also while playing those songs. I would like to say a few more words about the main important person behind the production of these three audio songs. He is Mr. Narsim Komar sir. He is a musician. Hundreds of students have learnt music under his guidance, and he has given a very beautiful music to these songs. Now I would like to thank these three persons who have prepared these songs, and in YouTube these songs have got lakhs together views, but you don't find these people's name anywhere. Now through this video I would like to give them the real credit that they deserve. Now listen to these songs and enjoy.
The quality of mercy is not strained. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven. Upon the place when a thief is at priceless. Upon the place when a thief is at priceless. Best in that gives and in the taste. Invest in that gives and in the taste. It is the medicine, the Midas it becomes. It is the medicine, the Midas it becomes. The quality of mercy is not strained. The quality of mercy is not strained. The throne monarch better than his throne. The throne monarch better than his throne. His scepter shows the force of temporal power. His scepter shows the force of temporal power. The attribute to awe and majesty. The attribute to awe and majesty. Wherein does speak the dread and fear of kings. Wherein does speak the dread and fear of kings. Mercy is above this scepter's sway. But mercy is above this scepter's sway. The quality of mercy is not strained. The quality of mercy is not strained. It is enthroned in the heart of kings. It is enthroned in the heart of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power does then show like its gods. And earthly power does then show like its gods. When mercy sees the justice. When mercy sees the justice. The quality mercy sees the justice. The quality of mercy is not strained. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven. Upon the place when a thief is at priceless. Upon the place when a thief is at priceless. Best in that gives and in the taste. Invest in that gives and in the taste. It is the medicine, the Midas it becomes. It is the medicine, the Midas it becomes. The quality